Thank you very much. So, first of all, I just want to say if anybody has any questions or if whatever topic I'm talking about, if you have something more pressing and concerning, by all means raise your hand and let us know. As the gentleman before me said, this is information sharing. I'm an assistant district attorney for New York County, which is of course Manhattan, and also Roosevelt Island. The DA for Manhattan is Cyrus Vance. I don't know if any of you are aware, but he's actually a fairly new DA. He ran for that office a couple years ago. And the district attorney's office is downtown on Center Street. And essentially when someone is arrested in the borough of Manhattan, which is New York County, there is down at 100 Center Street, which is actually the same building where criminal court is, there is a special office that's manned by the district attorneys there, and it's called ECAT. It's called the Early Case Assessment Bureau. And any cases that are brought there, if someone's arrested, when police officers write up an arrest and they say, well, this person did this, and we believe that a crime has been committed, and they're processed, not only they may be brought down to jail down there, but they may be interviewed by a DA down there. And that's the place where we sort of talk to the officers, and we talk to them over the phone, or we meet them in person. We may actually interview someone who's been arrested, and we'll decide what legally we think happened. We'll hear the facts, and that's at the point at which we'll decide, well, should this person be prosecuted for a crime? What crimes were committed? And what type of crime? Is it a violation? Is it a misdemeanor? Is it a felony? There are about 500 ADAs at the office. There's a far greater number of support staff. And our job, the police's job, is of course to enforce the laws and to be out on the street to see what's happening, to do their own investigations. And our job is really to investigate what the police bring us, and to look at the law and see what actually occurred. And so, essentially, after someone's arrested, generally within 24 hours of someone's arrest, and hopefully a lot sooner than that, they're actually brought before a judge. And that's what you may see this on Law & Order, you may see this in movies. Sometimes it's a little different than what you might see in movies and on TV. And that's when a judge will look at a case and will say, well, what's happened here? And someone might have bail set on them. Does everybody know the concept of bail getting set on somebody? And that's a lot of what you'll see on TV. You have prosecutors and you have defense attorneys, and they're arguing about whether someone should be incarcerated or be out at liberty. And things that affect bail, I think, is something that a lot of people wonder. Someone's family connections, whether someone has strong ties to the community, that stuff really goes to the heart of whether the court knows that that person is going to come back to court and they're going to be participating in that whole process. And from there, the case goes to other court parts. So you have that initial time that a defendant's in front of a judge, and then later on, they're brought to another court part, perhaps a few weeks, maybe a month later, maybe sometimes several months later if they're released. And then the case progresses. And something that a lot of people have frustrations with the criminal justice process, they think, well, why does it take so long? And the reason why is just because there's so many cases that happen on a given day. So many arrests are made. It's a very big city. There's a lot of people. So what may happen is someone may have something very, perhaps somebody is speeding and you get a summons, right? Perhaps somebody's driving under the influence of alcohol and they're arrested for that. And let's say that they're charged with driving under the influence, and that they make bail and they get out, and they have to return to court, perhaps several months later. And then for felonies, which is obviously the more serious type of offense that you have, there's a process in which somebody has an indictment filed against them. And that's a special type of court. Who here has done jury service before? okay? Anybody actually been selected for a grand jury? Yes, sir. So a grand jury is a little different than a normal jury service. Normal jury service, I'm sure you all go down to Center Street, and you go to one of those buildings, and you sit in a really big room, and eventually you may be called into a courtroom, and then they ask you a series of questions, and they say, thank you, but no thank you, and then you don't get picked, even though you really want to get picked, right? Grand jury service is there are several different types of grand juries. You may sit for 2 weeks, you may sit for a month, and you hear a number of cases, but they're not quite trial cases. It's essentially just the district attorney who comes in front of you and says, this is this police officer, he did this arrest, this is what happened, and they give you a very sort of bare bones overview of what happened. And you essentially are chosen to say, yes, a felony was probably committed. And that's what a grand jury does. It's a little different than a trial jury, where you're actually proving someone's guilt or innocence, or someone's guilt needs to be proven to you as a jury for you to vote that that person is guilty of a crime. And once a grand jury votes an indictment, it goes to Supreme Court. And New York is a little funny. There's criminal court, which is all misdemeanors, and even though you see in TV and you know in a lot of other states that the Supreme Court is, a panel of a few judges who are the highest court in the land. Strangely, here in New York, one of our lower levels of court is actually called Supreme Court, and that's where all felony cases happen. So what else? A lot of lawyer speak enters into the process of where somebody gets indicted and they're in court. A defense attorney will file motions, the district attorneys respond to them, and eventually that case may go to trial. What ultimately ends up happening is that if an assistant DA has a case on their desk, they want to come to some sort of resolution. So what will often happen will be that the defense attorney and the district attorney may strike some sort of deal. They may compromise and come to some sort of agreement. Perhaps somebody who's arrested with drugs actually has a drug problem. They're not selling drugs for profit, they're selling drugs to support their habit. And the district attorney may recognize that, and the defense attorney may give them proof of that. And so they may say, well, how about we have this person enter into a drug program, and after a certain amount of time, once they've successfully completed that program, the charges will be dropped. That's an example of, say, like a plea bargaining process, which I'm sure that everybody has heard to some degree on TV, but it happens almost all the time. Very few cases actually go to a trial stage. Of course, you wouldn't know that from watching Law and Order. In Law and Order, all cases go to trial in the last 15 minutes of the episode, but in actual real life, it happens very rarely. Sometimes we want to go to trial, and it never happens. Does anybody have any questions so far? Yes?
The age thing that you said for juvenile is from 7 to 15. It's not 7 to 18 years old?
I believe it's 16. You can actually be tried. Theoretically, you can actually be tried as an adult at age 16 and up. A lot of times what will happen is somebody will be classified as a youthful offender, and then there's a lot of specifics. I actually don't work often with that age demographic. I'm actually a felony narcotics bureau. Actually, I have another speaker here from the Corporation Council. She actually works almost exclusively with people who enter the justice, who are involved with the justice system in that age demographic. So she may be able to answer some concerns. Did you
I'm talking about the juvenile court, but the age is a difference.
Right.
That 1 year is a big difference. 15
Yes.
to 16.
It's true.
So that's kind of, that's really a big difference.
Right, you're absolutely right, and I'll address that. The family court generally has jurisdiction for kids between the ages of 7 and 15. There are exceptions to that, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
Yes.
Can you speak at all about the disposition of arrests that occurred on Roosevelt Island? Do you have any statistics as to the number of arrests that have occurred, how many have been convicted, how many have been acquitted, and how many have accepted pleas?
I don't have that information exactly. I can definitely inquire with the office and see if there's specific, Roosevelt Island statistics that we could provide to the community here. I know that I believe that a lot of times, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Queens division of the NYPD will sometimes have patrols here, but then the cases are handled by our office. If I'm correct with that?
Yes.
So ultimately, the Manhattan DA's office will handle cases that come our way from Roosevelt Island. In regards to whether specific statistics on how cases get resolved for Roosevelt Island, I don't have anything specific to that, but I'll definitely look into that, and I'll be in touch with your community here.
Well, you also mentioned you're involved in felony narcotics.
Yes.
Have you had any experience on Roosevelt Island in that area?
Personally, no. There's actually a special office that has jurisdiction over the entire 5 boroughs that I'm assigned to. Manhattan DA's office has a number of attorneys who are assigned there, as well as the Brooklyn DA's office and the Queens DA's office. All of the different DA's offices send ADAs there, and they handle felony narcotics arrests and cases throughout the entire city.
Is that posted?
What's that?
Is that posted?
Posted?
Yeah, I mean, is that made, that information made available to us? Like, you're in narcotics, is your information central? Like, we can go to a central, like a website, and you can see?
Yeah, we have a website. I'll be happy to give that to you.
Let me just add, good evening. My name is Linda Janae, and I'm what's called a community coordinator for the district attorney's office, and I have the pleasure of being assigned to the 19th precinct, and for all intents and purposes for our office, this is considered a part of the 19th precinct. So what I often will do, and Keith can back me up with this, I'll often look at all of the arrests on a monthly basis. Sometimes I'll send those arrests to Keith. I'll look at how many arrests we have on Roosevelt Island, what the disposition of those cases are, and I can just say, just from my experience, I'll generally see perhaps 4 to 5 arrests a month. Do we have experience with narcotics arrests on Rhode Island? Yes, we do. We have experiences where we've actually gone forward and sent redbacks to management office here for narcotic evictions for narcotic cases out of Roosevelt Island. So Roosevelt Island is a small community, but in the comparison to the rest of New York, it's pretty much like the rest of New York. We get some violations, we get some low-level drug offenses, we get some marijuana cases, and we have gotten some serious drug arrests in the past. And so what I can do, I try to attend the Roosevelt Island Resident Association meeting on a monthly basis, and I can always, I don't like to talk about specifics in terms of arrests, because sometimes you tread on very, very sensitive grounds when you start talking about specifics about arrests, but I can bring general numbers in terms of how many arrests and what those dispositions were. So that's something I can do on a monthly basis, just if that's what you would like to see.
That'd be great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that is so much more helpful than I could. Some of you may know not all cases, if they do go to trial, are in front of juries. Sometimes, if particularly for low-level offenses, sometimes it's just in front of a judge. And if, say, at the end of a case, or if somebody pleads guilty, that's generally the judge will promise somebody when they're pleading guilty. They'll say, well, in exchange for you pleading guilty now, I'm going to tell you that this will be what your sentence is. And then, a little period will happen between when somebody pleads guilty and when they're sentenced, and their background may be investigated, and if there are other factors, maybe they'll get a different sentence depending on those. And if somebody if somebody goes to trial, and sometimes juries will vote not guilty, or they'll convict. And if it's not guilty, that's the end of the case. And if somebody is convicted, then that judge who is presiding over that trial will decide what they think the sentence should be. In sentences, there are all different types. Someone can get imprisoned in either the jail here in New York City, or they can be sent to state prison. Somebody can get probation. There's misdemeanor probation. There's felony probation. There are different types. Somebody may just have to pay a fine. What often happens with low-level offenses in criminal court is that somebody will get a conditional discharge, and this happens a lot with people having their first experience with the criminal justice system. And essentially it will be a period of time in which, as long as they keep their nose clean and they are doing well, and they may have to meet some conditions that a judge will set for them, say finding employment, taking their high school equivalency tests, not getting arrested, taking drug tests, whatever the case may be, that case will eventually be erased from their record. Does anybody else have any other questions? Obviously, this
Can I
is
ask you one
yes.
thing? Erased from their record, meaning if you do a fingerprint check, it won't come up?
Well, that's slightly different. There are different ways that someone's record is run, right? There's criminal justice agencies like ourselves that we can see things that, say, an employer wouldn't be able to see. So if someone were to have a disposition like that entered, they wouldn't have to worry about an employer that was not a criminal justice agency seeing that on the record. But obviously, if they ever wanted to work in law enforcement, perhaps then that very well may be visible to them. But they're different. Again, it's a little bit grayer than how I'm giving it the
So is that really a sponge?
It can be. It depends on what type of offense it is and what the court does with it. Somebody's record can be sealed, and when a record is sealed, when an offense is sealed, then even we can't see it.
But you can also open it again if you see it.
Generally not. Generally, if the court is sealing it, that's. But it's different, obviously, if you're applying for work at a criminal justice agency.
There's one more thing that was ambiguous to me, is that you said the plea bar, the bail, is based on a person's political ties to the community? Or
No, not political ties.
I'm going to say not based on bail, not based on severity of the case.
Well, no, it's based on the severity of the case, but also if say if you're not from, let's say you're just passing through New York, right? Then if you live in a different state, perhaps then the judge may be a little bit more concerned about you coming back to court for your next court date, right? Obviously, if you have a lot of family here, if you've lived here for a long time, these are factors that are based in your criminal record is, of course, one of the most important ones. Obviously, if you've had violent criminal offenses in your record, that will factor in. But a lot of it is based on how the court can be assured that you're going to come back to court, and that's the main concern. Yes.
Does the DA, is there any standard practice regarding photographers taking pictures of what are considered to be potential targets, and whether or not a photographer has to provide identification to an officer asking for such, and whether or not an officer can ask the person taking the photograph to delete the pictures from their camera?
I can't speak exactly as to how. I believe that is actually an evolving practice depending on where you are, right? I mean, obviously different. You can't. I know that picture taking, for instance, in courtrooms, you have to get permissions from the judge often. If you're in a courtroom and say there's a trial going on, a verdict is coming down, and the press wants to take photos. A lot of times, the judge will have to decide whether that's in the interests of justice and of balancing, the rights of the press to be able to have access to it. Obviously, if it's in public, there are different concerns there. So it matters.
So, for instance, taking a picture of the Roosevelt Island tram, or one of the bridges, or the power plant across the river in Queens, where would that fit in the continuum?
I'm not exactly sure what you mean in terms of.
If I'm understanding you correctly, I don't think the DA's office has any authority over. You're referring to right now. There are rules that say you can't take pictures of the power plant. You can't take. That's a question for national security That's not something that the DA's office is actually involved in. And you're absolutely right. You're literally not supposed to take pictures of bridges. You're not supposed to take pictures of tunnels. You're not supposed to take pictures of the power plant. But that's not the district attorney's office that's doing that. That's the Office of National Security, not us. So that we are not involved with that.
But if
Now, what the penalty is, I'm not, to tell you the truth, I'm not sure what the penalty is. I'm not sure what the Office of National Security can do if they catch you taking a picture of the tunnel. I'm not sure what they do with that.
You know, it sounds to me like something that's very much on a case-by-case basis. I mean, you know, if you're, generally there are different rules in terms of the press and how they can interact with the criminal justice system at different points. So it depends.
I'd like to thank Jeffrey again. Does anybody have any more questions when I get to the next speaker?
Yeah, don't need to take it.
Okay, thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you.